Hey there, I'm Zak Cole, marine biologist and wildlife filmmaker. Every year, I'm sent clips of what appears to be hundreds of thousands of sharks swimming feet from the shore right here in Florida. What's really odd about this is that sharks are typically loners. They don't normally swim together in these huge aggregations, but these sharks are an exception. These are blacktip sharks, and they're currently on their annual migration up to the Carolinas. All of them are males, and at this point in their journey, all of them are right along the Florida coast. And the male blacktips will range all the way from Tampa all the way over to Long Island, New York. But the females tend to stick around Georgia and the Carolinas. I've never actually seen the blacktip shark migration with my own eyes, but I know that if I want to see this myself, I'm going to have to go out with someone who can show me. So every year, media companies get these amazing photos and videos of all of these hundreds of thousands of sharks swimming right along the beach, and they always interview a shark expert, and it always happens to be the same guy. And wouldn't you know it, I happen to know him from my time in college. Dr. Stephen Kajiura is a marine biology professor at Florida Atlantic University and runs the Elasmolab, Elasmo being short for elasmobranch, a group of animals like sharks and rays, and lab, which is short for lab. For over a decade, Steve has been studying this shark population, and he's definitely the person who can tell me why these sharks are here. So I packed up my car and headed down to Boca Raton to get some answers.
Hey, how's it going?
Dr. Kajiura, thank you so much for meeting with me. I really want to know, what is this photo we're looking at?
These are all blacktip sharks. There are literally thousands of sharks that you can see right here. And what happens is every winter, we have these sharks that come down here to South Florida. They make these large aggregations right off the beach in South Florida and spend a month or two here. And then as the water starts to warm up in the spring, they'll move their way up the coast again. You know, this time of year is peak season for us. And so we're actually going out tomorrow. So if you want to tag along and see what we do, come with us.
Yeah? Count me in. Remember, Steve said that these sharks are just passing through on their annual migration. They'll only be here for a few weeks. So with no time to spare, the next morning I met with Steve and his team to film them out on the water for the next 2 days. The plan is to head out along the coastline. Drifting just a few yards off the beach, we're going to drop several specially baited fishing lines in the water. Once caught, the shark will be pulled along the boat. Individual characteristics will be written down and 2 kinds of tags will be attached to it. The first kind of tag is called a dart tag, which acts sort of like a name tag to ID the shark if it's ever caught by people again, just like what you might put on your cat or dog's collar. The other kind of tag is a satellite tag, which is attached to the shark's dorsal fin. Anytime that fin breaks the surface, the satellite tag will tell an orbiting satellite the shark's exact location in real time. Dart tags are good, but satellite tags are even better. After we drop our last shark line in the water, we have a few minutes to relax and wait. Seeing this man swimming nearby, I'm reminded of just how close to the beach we are, and Steve explains why the sharks are so close to the shore.
They will hang out closer to the shore than almost any other shark species. And I think one of the reasons for that is they're actually staying out of the way of the bigger predatory sharks that are feeding on these blacktips.
So you're saying they're being eaten by other sharks?
Yeah, we regularly see larger sharks like great hammerheads coming in and chasing down these blacktip sharks and trying to eat them.
We're not looking for bigger sharks today, but the team does sometimes catch them, like nurse sharks, hammerheads, or tiger sharks. Steve mentioned that bigger sharks like hammerheads sometimes attack blacktips, which is weird because hammerheads mostly eat stingrays. And the team has witnessed this multiple times and even managed to get it on camera. Hammerheads are one of the biggest sharks to visit our shores. At 12 feet long, these hammerheads still have some growing to do, but they're already twice the size of our blacktips. You can see these blacktips are fleeing for the safety of the shallows, where the hammerhead can't swim. But hammerhead sharks are relentless and just turn around and keep coming back again and again and again, until finally it finds a blacktip too tired to keep swimming away. As far as I know, this kind of behavior has never been filmed before. What you're watching is the only known footage in the world of hammerheads actively hunting blacktip sharks. But as the hammerheads retreat to the deep blue, let's return to my time on the boat, because we're ready to check our lines for blacktips. The anticipation is high as we bring in our first line. Nothing. That's okay, we'll check our second line. Nothing again. And the next one, and the next one. The team retrieves 4 more lines. Not a single shark. We move to pull up our last line, and one of the team members finally says those two magic words.
Shark on!
The team rapidly pulls in the line, and I catch a few glimpses of our first and last shark of the day. It's a blacktip, the shark we're here for. As they pull in the shark to secure it to the side of the boat, I notice several small dark spots and blotchy discolorations all over the shark. And in seeing this, I'm reminded of something else Steve told me. Steve, there's a certain question about the ethics of capturing an animal like this. How do you take into consideration the well-being of the animal while you're catching them and tagging them?
If they start to get look blotchy or you start to see some discoloration in the skin, that's a sign of stress, and we basically truncate everything and say, all right, off you go, and release the shark immediately.
The team also notices this discoloration and makes the call. They have to let it go. They finally caught a shark and are now freeing it before they've even tagged it. As quickly as they can, the hook and tail rope are removed from our little blacktip, who quickly swims off into the blue. They did the right thing letting it go, but it's hard not to feel a little disappointed as we pack up and head back to land for the day. We'll just have to try again tomorrow. Studying wildlife is hard, and luck is just a part of the process. You don't always find what you're looking for, and days like today prove that. But when you do find that animal, the thing you've been searching for hours, days, maybe even months, all of the struggle, all of the heartache, all of the disappointment, it all vanishes. The next day, I head out with the team again. It's the same plan as yesterday. Everyone's feeling a little anxious. Every day, more of the blacktips head further north, away from the beach where the team is studying them. We finish setting the hooks again, and while we wait, one of the team members, Zeke, performs a short ritual for our luck.
Cast thy apricots upon the waters, and in many days' time the sharks shall return unto you.
With our lucky apricots thrown into the water, we head back to check our lines. And as we pull up to the first line from the surface, we can already see something. It's a blacktip, and it is feisty. The shark is pulled into the boat and secured. After a quick quality check from Steve, the shark is looking good. The team gets to work. Various measurements are taken, a small clip of its fin. All of this is valuable data for the research. The team readies a dart tag, which is installed with a small puncture in the animal. And then they get the satellite tag ready, which is attached to the shark's dorsal fin. There are only a few nerve endings here and even less blood, and the shark doesn't react at all. And a few moments later, it's over, and the shark is let go. The team celebrates their first shark of the day. Clearly, the previous day's disappointment is gone. And luck seems to be on our side, because the next line has another shark. And then another, and another. All together, we tag 5 different blacktip sharks. What a turnaround from our slow first day. As we head back to the dock to end my last day of filming, I can't help but think, why didn't we see any sharks yesterday? And even though we saw a lot of sharks today, where are the thousands of blacktips? As I think about this, I recall something else Steve told me. Over the years he's been researching them, he noticed a new trend developing. Steve, we see these photos and videos that you've taken and news cameras have taken of thousands and thousands of blacktips, and we went out today and we definitely saw them. They're definitely there, but there doesn't seem to be nearly as many of them as there have been in the past. Why is that?
Yeah, we have been doing these counts, aerial surveys to count blacktip sharks for 12 years now, right? And so we have a tremendous amount of data over this relatively short time period. And what we've seen is the numbers of blacktip sharks are about 1/10 of what they were just a decade ago. The numbers are way down, and it correlates very strongly with water temperature. Water temperature is about 1.3 degrees Celsius warmer now than it was 10 years ago. And as a result, these blacktip sharks are not coming down here. They're encountering their preferred temperatures at higher latitudes. So why swim all the way down to Palm Beach if you find the water you like off Sebastian or Melbourne or something? And so that's why these sharks are not coming down here in huge numbers.
So you're saying that the blacktip shark population off of Palm Beach is only 1/10 of what its population size was 10 years ago?
That's right. It has been literally decimated in the past decade. And this year, the numbers are lower than even last year.
Knowing this story about how the blacktips are disappearing reminds me of a story from the early 2000s where the entire bay scallop industry of the Carolinas completely collapsed. And the leading reason why it collapsed was because there were too many cownose stingrays. And those cownose stingrays were eating all of the bay scallops, and the scallop fishermen didn't have any scallops that they could catch and sell. And this is an industry that is centuries old at this time. And there's a study done in 2007 where this group of researchers determined that the reason there were so many cownose stingrays was because there were no sharks in the area, specifically no blacktips. And remember, the Carolinas, where this is happening, is where the blacktips are heading to. This is where the females stay year-round. So with that being said, there were no blacktips, and because of that, the cownose stingray population kind of went into overdrive, and because they didn't have any predators. And we see this sort of thing time and time again, where top-level predators are removed from an ecosystem, and the rest of the ecosystem collapses. Having predators in an ecosystem is really, really, really important, and making sure that we can protect those animals is something even more important. That story from the early 2000s was because of overfishing. That's not the problem that these blacktips are having. They are disappearing because of climate change. They're finding their preferred temperatures further north. And because of that, there's just no reason for them to come this far south. But what does that mean in the long run for the ecosystems that do depend on sharks like the blacktips to maybe help control other animal populations? What does that mean for the health of the ecosystem as a whole? I don't have any good answer for this as to how we can help prevent it, because ocean warming is such a bigger problem than riding a bike or recycling. The information that Steve's team is providing us is a critical window to what's going on in the ocean, and that's really important. And that's part of why I'm so fascinated with these sharks, is because they show us what's happening on such a larger scale to the entire ecosystem. And that's a really cool way that we can empathize and benefit and connect with this really incredible animal.
So, I'm Zak Cole, this is the Blacktip, and thanks for checking out what makes Florida so wild.
I want to give a huge thank you to Dr. Steven Kajiura and his student team. All of the drone and underwater footage you saw was provided by him, and he gave me so much more footage than I could ever use in a single video. I've posted a full interview with Steve as an exclusive video for my patrons on Patreon. There's a link down below to Steve's lab work and social media. Please consider subscribing to Wild FL, and I'll see you on the next adventure.